Hi guys, today I'll be showing you the other method that I use in order to paint my glass eyes for the 3D models. So the one thing you're going to need is some glass cabochons. This comes in a variety pack of 6, 8, 10, and 12. This here's the name of the brand that I use. I use a hot glue stick. You're obviously going to need paint. I also have a hobby knife sitting close by because, well, I will make mistakes. I just heat up the end of my hot glue stick till it starts to melt just a little bit. And then I grab my cabochon. My cabochon here that I'm using has been pre-cleaned with rubbing alcohol. I think it was 99%. I could be wrong. So if you want to do like human eyes or doll eyes, I suggest printing cylinders and attaching them to your hot glue sticks. This one here's a new one. My old one was kind of yucky and gross. But I just take and I dip these here in the black paint and I dot them on the cabochons themselves. That will give you a round pupil. Today, however, I need slit eyes for snakes. So you're going to want a very, very teeny tiny brush, baby brush. And I always start by going straight down the middle. Keep in mind that I shake and it's not going to be a straight line, but you work with what you got. It also was not in the middle. So we're going to fan that out just a little bit and make it thicker. And it may not go on really thick to start with. If it does not, that's okay because, well, that's what a second coat of paint's for. After I get my straight line, I usually turn it away from me so that I can focus on it a little bit better, and I make a half circle to bring it into a point. Today is an extra fun day. I am super shaky. So sorry about that. But I'm going to show you how we're going to clean this thing up here in just a minute, because right now it looks terrible. And that's okay, because not everybody's perfect. I am the farthest thing from it. Obviously, I don't like the way this slit looks, because it looks terrible. So what I now do is I go in, and usually you can wait until after it dries, but I'm impatient today. And you go in with your hobby knife, and you kind of clean it up just a little bit to get the profile that you want, or in my case, I'm taking some off in order to make this thinner in the middle, and then I'm going to come back and do another pass at that half circle. Could I have shaped it? Yes, absolutely. Did I want to? No, I did not. I opted for the easier method of starting over for the most part. It's a little thicker up there than what I like to. So we're just going to pull all that off. I'm actually going to dilute my black paint a little bit. It's a little thick. I think that's one of the reasons it didn't glide on very well. So again, we're going to start down the middle and then come back out with a half circle or a semicircle. I'm also working with this a lot farther away from my face than I'm used to because I am blind for the most part and can't see squat. So I usually have everything right up to my face when I'm painting. For demonstration purposes, though, obviously I cannot. Try and bring this down just a little bit. We're almost there to it. This one side wants to give me a few issues, that's okay. Grab a little bit more water to make this a little bit thinner so it'll glide a little better. I also lost the point to my brush, it looks like. Now, try and clean this thing up just a little better. So what I'm doing now is I'm just bringing this down to a point because most of the slant eyes, they come down to a point instead of being perfectly flat. That's the bonus of acrylic on glass, is it'll clean up very easily. Takes minimal effort. And if you accidentally take off too much, guess what? You can go back in with your paintbrush and add more. So this one side over here, I don't quite like the way the arch is yet. So I'm just gonna go add a little bit more material to that. Try and get my brush back to a point. That will help. Obviously, I'm using acrylic paint. I don't care that it's on my skin. It will come off with some soap and water. That's better. And I am an impatient person, so I usually opt for the torch to run some heat over it and get it to dry pretty quickly. You obviously don't want to get too close to this because it will make your paint bubble and it will look atrocious. Now, after you're done with your initial pupil, whether it be round or slit eyes, whatever, then I go back in and, like, for this one here, I want to have some gold going around this pupil to draw on a really pretty highlight. So I'm just gonna grab just a tiny bit of the gold. And we are gonna get that as close to the pupil. And sometimes I will overpaint the pupil just because it's not gonna hurt it any. It lets me know that I'm right on that edge if I do overpaint. The only downside to doing it this way is you cannot see, very well anyway, what your eye is going to look like as a finished product yet. So when I overpaint that pupil, I cannot guarantee that I have equal distance from the pupil on each side that I'm working on. Now, there is a cheat way to do this, and for the most part, especially if you're working with bigger eyes, you can flip it upside down and look through here and see if you need to add more material somewhere. And if you can't see it very well, which on this one here I could, this side here is a little skimpy in this area. If you can't see it very well, just let it dry, pop it off your hot glue stick, and then you can look at it and see where you might need to add something. So I have my overpainting done and around the pupil done. And then the next step is going to be going in and adding details. So with reverse painting, you're gonna do your pupil first, and then your details, and then you'll go back in with your full eye color. So I have right here, this is just a dry brush palette and a really crappy paint gunked paintbrush. That's all this thing is. It's terrible. I'm gonna add 3 different colors as far as the veining and the details out here. You take your brush, and I'm gonna start with a light brown. To do a dry brush technique, I just get some on my brush, run it over these ridges, get most of the paint off, and then come in and hit it. Now this brown here does not show up really great at the moment. It will once we put a background color on it though. Like I said, you just want most of the paint off. You want to leave a little bit on there, and you're almost like scratching it onto the areas that you want that veining to be. It actually doesn't look bad. It didn't show up very well whenever I was looking at it from a distance, sorry. I kind of rinsed it off a little bit. I normally don't. And honestly, I probably shouldn't have, but that's okay. And then I'm going to go in with a yellow, it's like a yellow ochre, dandelion, whatever color this is to you. And I'm going to hit that right over the top of that light brown. And it doesn't matter if you get it on the pupil, it's not going to show up. At the moment, you can kind of see some hazing on the edges there around the pupil. That's where we're putting in this detail work. And then I'm going to hit this one more time with a darker brown. I just get a little bit on the edge there, and again, just dry brush it over. And you can see on my palette where we're taking off most of the paint. And then we'll come back in and we're going to hit that on there as well. And it's going to be really thin, really spindly looking, and that's okay. We don't want it to be overpowering. Definitely don't want to overpower the main color. And actually for this one here, I might go ahead. I have some white somewhere. I'm going to go ahead and grab just a dab of white. Well, so much for a dab. That's okay. On my brush, it will be a dab. Might want to rinse that off a little bit better. And I want to get most of the water out of my brush too, just because that will thin it out really, really thin. And your dry brushing just won't turn out right. Still a little bit more on there, okay. And I'm going to come in with a little bit of white as well, just because I think that might actually look cool on this eye. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. I'll scrape it off. It's not a big deal. Now, to see if you have the veining the way you like it again, you can flip this upside down and kind of look through the glass the best that you can. It's really hard to camera focus with something this tiny. Let's see if I can get this to focus just on the eye and not everything in the background. So you can start to see some of that veining coming through. This part of the pupil I might actually go back and fix later for this tutorial. I'm not going to because it's not that big of a deal. Also keep in mind everything is kind of enlarged when you look at it like this. After you get done with that though, what you're going to do is you're going to grab the main color that you want your eye to be. So if you want green eyes, you go with green, stuff like that. This one here, I am going to remove some of the white. I'm just taking my hobby knife and kind of cutting little grooves in there because I noticed whenever I looked through it, it looked a little thicker than what I like. They weren't as much veins, it's just a haze. And I want to make sure we can see this main color through here. Like I said, obviously sorry, I'm out of focus on that one. This is what I was doing though, off the camera, not paying attention. Taking the hobby knife and just kind of cutting little grooves in the colors that I just threw on here because the white was a little bit overpowering. I didn't quite like the way it looked. Now you can kind of see where you can see the glass through this. For this eye here in particular, I'm going to take this to this medium brown color. And I'm going to mix it with just a little bit of gold. This is my mess that I currently have down here. I'm going to pick up a little bit of light brown and mix the gold in with it so I get a little bit of a shimmer in there as well. Just because I like a shimmery eye once in a while. It gives them a really cool effect. Now on the paint itself, you can't really see the shimmer until you get it up close. But you're literally just going to paint over everything you just did. And it's going to look really funny. And it feels funny to do it this way because, you know, if you've ever done an art class, you think of painting an eye, you paint the color, then your details, your pupil. Sometimes you'll do your pupil before your details, no big deal. But this way you reverse everything that everybody's ever taught you, which is a little crazy to me, but it does work and it looks really good if you take your time. This was obviously a quick tutorial, so it's not going to be the greatest. And it's definitely not going to live up to what I like them to look like. I don't paint them fast. I usually take a good 30 minutes per eye, which is really crazy to me. But when you're all done, you literally just pop this off. Like I said, this one here, the pupil, I'm not happy with it. I will go back and fix that. But you can start to see some of the veining in there that I've got in there. I should have probably threw a little bit of black to pull the black back too. When you take your time though, and you actually want it to turn out really good, this is a example of what they can look like. This one here has more of the marbled effect out here for the veining. this pupil here, I kind of want to clean up just a smidge, but it's going to be hidden down in the model. I actually forgot which model I made these. Actually, I think this one here was for this. No, the sail fin has the round eyes. I don't remember which model I made this one for now. I did these last week. I planned on putting out a video last week and I forgot. But something needed these anyway. And what I will do is not clean these up, because when you put these in, it's actually going to be buried probably to about here on both of these. So the tips of the slits don't matter too much. Now the round eyes, they're a lot easier to do just because you're not trying to make little bitty slits on anything. The 6mm are a little bit harder to work with, but if you've got good enough eyes, you can do it. I also have, for the veining, I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but I literally have a paintbrush that has maybe 2 hairs in here. And you can actually take that and run it through your paint. See if I can grab some white here, it might show it better. And this is what I've been known to do, is you take it and you don't even have to dry brush it at that point. I'm trying to hit my hand. I mean, you can get the thinnest lines. You might only get 1 stroke per paintbrush, you know, but it will give you an awesome, awesome effect. This is what it looks like just on my hand. And you can imagine doing this on like a cabochon. You can see how it kind of skips here and there, which everybody's eyes are imperfect. We don't have straight lines all throughout. That is a quick tutorial.